Good evening, everyone. Welcome. I am going to call the Select Board meeting to order. It is Monday, October 17th, 2022. It's just 6:01. And if I could get a waiving of the Zoom.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Nay?
No, sorry. Just leave.
And just a notification that this is being streamed live and recorded for broadcast at another time. And if we could stand for the pledge. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oops, sorry. Okay. And looking at a motion for the approval of the Treasury warrant and payroll.
Make a motion to approve Treasury Warrant 23-8 and Payroll 23-PW8.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any questions, any discussion? Roll call?
Clock eye.
Galvin, I exempt anything safe place related.
Nichols Eye excluding COA wages.
Wait, but
And Benoit, aye.
Motion to approve the minutes of October 3rd as written.
Second?
Second.
And roll call.
Clock eye.
Galvin, I.
Nichols Eye.
wait a minute.
And Benoit, aye. And I don't know if we have anybody here for public comment tonight. State your,
Yeah, the project I've been working with you folks on, that's on the agenda?
it is.
Okay,
It is.
thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. No public comment. All right, so now we are going to move into 3 public hearings, and we'll take them in order that they are on our agenda. So the first one will be common vic, but I would like to have a motion to open a public hearing.
So moved.
You don't need a motion.
No motion, thank you, I was listening, okay. All right, thank you, I declare it open. All right, so we have a common vic license for Dippin' Donuts at 222 Barry Paxton Road. Do you want to?
Good evening. I'm Krelza. That's my husband George. We both are owners of Dippin' Donuts Spencer, Leicester, and West Warren. And we've been working for a few months to open a Dippin' Donuts here in Rutland. We have so many customers from Rutland that come to our store, so we think it's a good location. It's a great town and a good opportunity. So now we are in the process of working with the project for the moment.
Okay. Any conversation, any discussion?
This, if I may, this is the space over at the Still Four Corners mobile gas station and everything.
Correct. Yeah,
Right.
it used to be Dunkin' Donuts,
Yeah.
the same spot,
I
yeah.
was gonna say, I think that that's a huge benefit for the town, just to have some, another
On that
coffee, donuts, sandwich place on that side of town also.
We hope so. We hope so. Like, as a small business owner, we really put every single effort into food quality, customer service. It's not like we are a big franchisee, but we do our best. We really put our 100% effort into that.
Thank you.
And Tamika, everything is in order? Wonderful. So do I have a motion to approve?
Close the meeting.
Close the meeting, thank you.
Second.
And roll call,
Clock eye.
Galvin, I.
Nichols Eye.
Wait a minute.
and Benoit, aye.
Make a motion to approve the Vice Common Vic license for Dippin' Donuts, 22 Barry Paxton Road.
Second.
Any further discussion? Roll call,
Clock eye.
Galvin, I.
Nichols Eye.
Wait a minute.
and Benoit, aye. Welcome to
Thank
town.
you.
Welcome to
luck.
town.
Thank you for your support.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good luck.
We'll go for the next few months. Yeah, it's taking a while.
Thank you, everybody.
Okay, you're welcome. Okay, now I declare the second public hearing open, and that is the adoption of order of layout, street acceptance, Bryce Lemon Estates, Phase 1. do I have a motion? Any,
Oh, it's just,
who
you
wants
just
to
opened
read
it.
it? I just opened it, right, so discussion. Anybody here to talk about it? Clea, I don't know if you wanna.
I just wanted for clarification, these are the same two that were on,
Mhm.
and we have the phase one, and then the phase two one, right? And I just had asked that we keep them, in addition to the official labeling and everything, that we keep them labeled as the phase one and the phase two, because I think the phase one has been through a number of iterations, and the phase in front of town, not necessarily like please number of iterations, but before the town. So just for kind of my own.
Yes, this will be the third time, right? The third time for phase one and the second time for phase two.
3 times a chime. So I just need somebody to read this.
I guess, were there still some conditions, Tamika? I'm looking through my emails.
So we have everything that we need to do it. The planning board has made a recommendation in favor of it, which is also in your packets, which is part of the process. For clarification, it was previously approved at town meeting, but behind the scenes, the paperwork was not filed properly. So that does necessitate going through the entire process again. So that is why this is before you and the town. And given that this is a public hearing, there were 60 abutter notifications that went out, so I'm not sure if there's any folks that have any comments or questions while Mr. Blair is here.
I would like to add, is there anybody here? As an abutter for phase one? Yes.
Nick Nugent, 9 Sedona Circle, which is in phase one. So, as I understand, phase one was already accepted last time, but there was a clerical issue.
Yes, so what happened was, it was previously accepted at an annual town meeting, and the town did not conduct the proper paperwork within the 120-day window. So then it went, special town meeting. Then it went to annual town meeting, and it was shot down because of some information that was shared at the meeting that was incorrect. So now this is why it's back a third time. So there haven't been any changes to the plans, to anything like that. It's just we have to get it through again so we can do the paperwork.
Thank you.
Yes, please.
If I may, I know at the annual town meeting there were some concerns brought up on the floor which led it to not pass. Clea, do you know if you or planning board or anybody has answers to those concerns that were maybe not?
I wasn't there, so I don't know exactly what the concerns were, but I think it was the fact that the subdivision wasn't complete,
Correct.
so they wanted to wait until all the roads were finished and everything was complete until they took those. But the planning board approves the subdivision in phases, and it has to be built in phases. So we build it in phases, and then you turn them over to the town in phases. So phase one, we filed all the paperwork. It came to town meeting. You guys, everybody recommended it, and it got approved. But when we gave the paperwork to the administrator's office, that for some reason didn't get recorded. So now I had to go back to town meeting at the last town meeting, and then they turned it down. Like, I honestly, I haven't seen that with any subdivision. I've been building roads for 40 years. I don't think I've seen that before, but it happened. Once the planning board and the finance committee and everybody recommends it, it usually just gets accepted at town meeting. It's just a matter of course, because who suffers are the people in the subdivision. If it's not plowed and it's not maintained, it's not my job. Once it's finished, it's not my job to do that any longer. It's so it falls on the residents of the people who live there, who are paying full real estate taxes and everything else, and should have plowing, maintenance, and so forth. When my part is done, there's no line items on no way money gets held over for plowing or sanding or maintenance or any of that stuff. So if the town doesn't accept it, then it ends up being the burden of the people who live there to make sure it gets plowed and sanded if the town won't do it. So I think it's important that people from the neighborhood show up, in this case, and vote at the town meeting, because otherwise they're just going to suffer. So I think is that what most of what happened?
Yeah, I think that's an accurate. I just wanted to make sure that that those concerns were addressed, and that, you know, in my mind, it's more of a planning to stand up and explain their process if there are questions that arise again, so that if we have all the documentation, there's no outstanding issues on your end, that then if there are questions about it, that someone can get up and explain the process and why the process is what it is, and everything. So
Okay, I'll be there this time. I snuck out and went to church the last time, came back, and the meeting was over by the time I got back. I'm like, whoa.
So,
So I make a motion to close
the hearing.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great.
So I make a motion to accept the order of layout of a portion of Woodside Ave and Sonota Circle, whereas the Select Board of the Town of Rutland, acting pursuant to GLC 82, 21 to 24, having deemed that common convenience and necessity require the acceptance of Sedona Circle and a portion of Woodside Ave as town ways, hereby lays out the Sedona Circle and said portion of Woodside Ave as public way, all as shown on plan reference below. And whereas the boundaries and layout of Sedona Circle from 0+00 to STA 5+74.03, and a portion of the Woodside Ave from STA 35+50.00 to STA 50+24.12 are shown on a plan entitled Roads As-Built Plans Bryce Lemon Phase 1, dated October 7th, 2020, and revised March 25th, 2021, prepared by New England Environmental Design Incorporated, which plans was referred to the planning board, and which plan is hereby adopted as part of this order, and all land lying within the layout of Sedona Circle and the portion of Woodside Ave from STA 50+24.12 and STA 35+50 are hereby laid out as public way. The aforementioned plan is hereby forwarded to the town clerk for filing, and foregoing layouts are hereby reported to the town for acceptance.
Second.
Any further discussion from the board? Can I have a roll call, please?
Clock eye. Galvin aye.
Nichols eye?
Waitman, aye.
And Benoit, aye. Thank you. And now I am opening the third public hearing, which is the street acceptance for Bryce Lemon Estates Phase 2. Any discussion, or same story, different face?
The only thing different about this one was that this one wasn't accepted at a town meeting prior. So the first time it came up, it got voted down, which for the same reason they voted down Phase 1.
Right.
So it really is the same reasoning behind it. People just need to show up and make sure that the road gets accepted. I mean, again, it's been recommended by the planning board, recommended by the finance committee, recommended by really this board. So it should be accepted as a town road so that they get the benefits of maintaining and plowing and sanding and so forth. The only way it does that is if the people of the town take it.
And they're gonna come to meeting.
And they gotta come to the meeting to do it, me included. And just for future reference, STA means station.
Easier to say station.
Just a quick question. I want to know, Gene Coover, 71 Woodside Avenue. I just want to know when the finishing touches are going to be put on Phase 1 and Phase 2. There's sidewalks that have to be put in, the detention pond is nowhere near ready, there's junk all over this place. Accepting the road is fine, but what about the rest of the Phase 1 and 2? I have pictures to show you with all the debris and stuff, if the board would like to see it. I don't know if this is the time or the place.
It is. I can answer that. So the detention pond can't get finished until Phase 4 gets finished, because Phase 4 uses the detention pond. While I'm building it, it will distribute mud and silt and so forth into that detention pond at the time. So it's not the time to finish the pond. The town has not will not accept the detention pond. Therefore, those pieces, that debris that you see next to it, are pieces of concrete that actually are used in building.
Drain?
Yeah, for building the pond. There's a weir and there's another piece there that would be part of that to fix it. We've left the sidewalks off in front of it because we have to access it with machinery and it will ruin the sidewalks. So at the town's recommendation, the same situation existed in phase, when we asked for it to be, taken the last time. Town recommended not putting the sidewalks in and not finishing the detention pond because it just have to be cleaned out and built almost all over again once we do. We plan on doing phase 4, by the way, in the spring, so hopefully, that'll all get cleaned up very shortly. I hope that answers your question.
Spring is your timeline?
Timeline?
Spring? Next
Spring with the start, yeah.
In phase 5?
Phase 4.
Phase 5, when is that gonna be done? You stripped it, and it's been stripped for 8 months?
That's
and-
phase 1C. Yeah, we're gonna start that
A
in a
lemon
month.
circle, whatever it is.
Yeah, in about a week or two. We're starting that.
So just real quick, just to backtrack, when they start doing Lemon Circle, and they're gonna be putting the cement trucks and the dump trucks and all that stuff, and they're gonna go down the Woodside Avenue. So the town would be responsible for maintaining and fixing that road after that heavy equipment goes down? Or is there gonna be a special access road that Blair uses to get his trucks in?
To you, Madam Chair? Yeah, so the way it's usually done is, if we cause any damage to the road, we have to fix it. The town has nothing to do with fixing it. If there's damage caused in construction, and you can see it, I mean, Gary's been DPW director here for a long time. He would never let us get away with wrecking a road and him fixing it. And I can say Director Buckley would be the same way. They would never do that. So, if we do damage the road with trucks and so forth coming in and out of there, we are required to fix it.
And just real quick, can a temporary sidewalk be put in phase 2? Because the kids that live there walk in the street to get down to the bus stop. Because, as Clee said, you can't put a sidewalk in because they're gonna go over it with heavy equipment, it's gonna break it up. So can some blacktop be put there so the kids aren't walking in the street?
So I don't know the answers to any of your questions. But I would suggest that you reach out to the planning board, who has the questions, and they have the direction for Mr. Blair to be taking.
2 years ago, I was part of that planning board meeting, and they got a little snippy, those guys, Norm Anderson and the other guy, Jim, whatever his name is. We were talking about the HOA, we were talking about people, the liability that the community is going to face with kids maybe going in that detention pond, people outside the community ice skating on that detention pond. We spoke about a fence. And Norm told me, are you going to paint that fence when it rusts? And he goes, are you going to fix that fence when somebody drives through it with the snowmobile? And then Jim, kind of snippy, one of the mothers in the development said, well, what about the kids going in there and swimming and somebody drowns? And Jim goes, well, why don't you teach a kid how to swim? Okay? Real snippy. Now, I understand in phase 3, and Clee could, tell me I'm wrong, but I understand they're putting a fence, 6-foot-high fence around the detention pond in phase 3, and we were told that no fence was allowed around the detention pond in phase 1 and 2. It's not in keeping with that Rutland farming look. So I don't know how phase 3 gets a fence and phase 1 and 2 does not. So.
It's a legitimate question.
So I can answer that. Sure. First of all, it's not a fence in phase 3, it's a wall, concrete wall.
No.
The town has not allowed fences around detention ponds forever. The town planning board has not allowed them around detention ponds forever. They just don't want them. And I've never really seen that. Like Rolling Ridge, all this stuff all the detention ponds are all still in place and there's no fences around them and things like that. So all the subdivisions we built, that detention pond that he's referencing is not gonna be as deep. It's not gonna hold water. Right now it does because it's part of construction. So when it has what's called a low flow channel in it, when it's built and it's built to spec, the way it's supposed to be built, all the water will drain out of that after every storm. It won't hold water. It won't be, it won't need a fence. I mean, and I told the planning board at the time, and I remember this full meeting, I said, listen, you tell me to put in a fence, I'll put in a fence. I'm not jumping up and down about saying no, because most towns ask for fences. This town, they don't like them, so we don't do them. But the fact is that what you see right there now is not indicative. The shape is correct, but the bottom of the pond won't have, I mean, right now it looks like an old swimming hole. I mean, it's full of mud, and I wouldn't go near that thing. Even if I was a kid, I wouldn't want to be near that thing at all. It's gross. So, I mean, it needs to be cleaned out. It needs to be, built according to plan. So when I start the next phase, I'll do that. But right now, it doesn't make any sense to do it. Planning board asked us not to do it. And as far as sidewalks go, I mean, I think you can walk down through there. I just don't think there's any pavement. And, right now, that's not a thoroughfare road. People, the only people really accessing that end of the street are people who live there. So I think they're aware of the situation. I'm not saying, but it's the best, it's what the town's asked it to do, and it's the best situation, I think, that can be there at the time. So I hope I answered your question.
I do know that there's a split rail around one of the ponds on Mark Circle. So,
Where?
Mark Circle.
Uh,
It's an L-bag bill.
Oh, I was
but
gonna say, I
know
didn't build
it-
that
No,
one.
so I'm wondering about that.
They might have done
I've heard
that on
they-
their own.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yep, Steve Maintainus, 51 Woodside. I'm here to vote yes on accepting the second phase. I do actually have one question for Clea. Small favor to ask, if it's at all possible, to move that porta potty to 1C if it's at all possible, just because it is an eyesore. That would be my only request, but otherwise I'm fully supportive of.
I gotta tell you, they're charging me for that porta potty, and I've asked them to take that out of there 1,000 times. I'm tear ass. It's it. People who are like doing work in the neighborhood, paving driveways and stuff, using our porta potty. I'm like, hey, get that thing out of there. It's costing me money.
UPS and Amazon drivers love that porta potty. Love it.
Top paying the bill.
Paying for it. Nobody cleans it, and there's some time when driving by it, you picked up the pace.
And we do have porta potties on there.
That would be my only
I
request.
don't know why everybody's
Other than that, I'm
complaining
fully
about it. That thing is
supportive.
sitting right in front of my driveway.
Oh. So if I could just speak to that point as well, I understand that you're probably required to have that porta potty there.
We were, but we're not any longer.
Okay.
Send it.
Yeah,
I would stop paying the bill myself.
I'm not paying it.
well, aside from just the eyesore itself, it blows over every storm. Whatever is in there
Oh, jeez.
leaks into the
Hey, don't give me flashback.
leaks into the surrounding area, which is a health concern, contamination concern for the wetlands down there. I think the holdup and the frustration from the residents in that neighborhood is the roads are fine. We're here to vote yes for the town to accept the roads. The eyesores, the unsafe pieces of equipment over there, the porta potty that blows over. The other issue is the walking trail that connects down to the rail trail. I believe that's considered phase 1, or is that the entire neighborhood?
The rail trail?
Yeah,
Walking
the
down
access
the trail down.
No, that's actually part of the open space. It's not really part of phase 1 or any phase. It gets turned over at the end of the site when we finish, and we turn over the open space. The town never takes it.
So last year
Becky doesn't like
they
it.
had talked about, last year, the year before, that it was more or less completed as a trail. Now it's had debris and
Weeds.
pieces of equipment, or those concrete structures that have kind of made the trail go away. The other issue is the steep embankment down to that pond. And if it's not complete, it's not complete, I understand that. You can't do something and then rip it up and redo it, or you want to, but it does need to be addressed.
The DCR
to-
owns that, has restrictions on that piece of property. They allowed us to clean it once. they're very strict about working in their 200-foot zone. And, you know, you guys probably know a lot about that, but the point is that it's part really of, it's gonna end up being part of the homeowners association to maintain that trail that connects. Or, I mean.
So before it gets turned over, it will be completed by you guys?
Once we finish the
Because
detention
the current
pond.
state is not.
Once we finish the
not-
detention pond, I'm answering a question where I don't have complete knowledge of, but once we finish the detention pond, we should
Tie that in.
just tie that in right
When
now.
does that HOA take effect, Lee?
When I turn over the open space to the town.
And when is that, completion of 1C, completion of the whole development?
It's supposed to go, questions are supposed to go through the
Planning
chair.
board is planning on addressing this at their next
Yes,
meeting on October
yeah.
25th,
I mean-
which would probably be the better place.
Well, she's just gonna ask you the same
I-
thing.
I know, but you're not supposed to talk between each
I'm sorry.
other.
Yeah, you can't, yeah.
No, it's rude. No. It sounds, Clea, like they would love to have a meeting with you. That's what it seems like.
Yeah.
But that's not for me to
Right.
say
I
yay
mean,
or nay to, but they have, your people have a lot of questions for you. And there's also a lot of questions, and I'm sorry that you had a negative experience with the planning board.
You can only apologize for your actions, not for somebody else's.
I know,
Please.
but I can apologize that,
Please,
on
elected
behalf of-
officials talking like that is not good.
so.
So the answer, the question is then, when does the HOA take effect? And then you could ask Mr. Blair that question.
That's a planning board question that's going to
That's the
be
planning board.
done,
It's
they're gonna be talked
actually
about
on
on
their agenda
October
for-
24th, and it's on their,
25th.
25th, it's on their agenda.
I can answer it if you'd like me to.
Um,
It's when the subdivision's complete.
Okay.
That's when it takes effect.
What subdivision?
Are there any more about the street itself? Because that's all I know about, and that's even this much. We really rely on the planning board and the conservation commission to have done all the due diligence, make a recommendation to us, and then we say yes or no, and then it goes further. So, don't have a lot of answers for you, but I've learned a lot. I've learned that I don't know a lot. So, and anything
Can I make
else?
one more
Clea?
comment?
Sure.
Can I make one more comment? So it's just, I really want to stress to everybody here that lives there, get a hold of your neighbors, get to that meeting. When's the meeting? Ma'am?
October 25th.
For the
No,
town
the
meeting?
November
Oh, I'm sorry,
7th.
November
The town
17th.
meeting, November.
November 17th.
So
Over and
please, show up and vote, because last time, people just didn't understand, but but there wasn't enough people there. There was not, I don't think there was anyone there from the neighborhood. But people need to show up and vote so you get the services that you deserve.
Okay.
To the chair, can I ask Mr. Blair a couple of questions, please?
Oh, sure.
Mr. Blair?
Yes,
How are you, sir? Just a couple of things, please. I believe part of the reason for it not passing at annual is because of the length of roadway for accessibility to public safety vehicles and plow trucks. I've been up there several times. Obviously, they weren't connected. From what I've seen, it can certainly accommodate them. So my question is just that. Do you feel that it can accommodate the turnaround of DPW plow trucks as well as fire apparatus?
Yes, they were, so the end of phase 2, right at the end is a cul-de-sac. So that is considered a turnaround.
Okay.
There is also a turnaround at the end of phase 1 at the pump station. But they don't have to worry about that now because they can go up to phase 2, continue and turn right around on the cul-de-sac. So they can either back in or go up the cul-de-sac and come around. It accommodates fire vehicles, accommodates safety vehicles, accommodates plows and so forth.
Okay, and they've had their final walkthrough inspection?
It was done last year.
Okay, so that's
Yeah.
all done. I'm
All been
just asking.
signed off by Carl, all been signed off by the planning board. Everybody's happy with the
Okay,
work.
one more thing about the detention pond sidewalk, if you will.
Mhm.
Is that part of phase 2 or is that in fact part of phase 4?
1 and 2, the sidewalk.
The sidewalk by the...
Yes, but the town, the planning board on the bond has held money so that gets finished. If for some reason I don't finish it, they have the money set aside to finish it. But they've recommended not to do any work there until I finish the detention pond, which is abutting it.
Okay, just that. Okay, thank you.
Yep.
All right. Can I get a, yes, name and address?
Joanne Kruger, 71 Woodside Avenue. Just a question, in the, accepting the roads for phase 1 and phase 2, whatever, does that mean that school buses no longer have to stop at Charneytown, the kids have to walk all the way there? The buses will be allowed to come into the development to pick up the children as they do in Holden?
Yes, yes, please.
No, they will do an inspection. We will do an inspection that we've done in other neighborhoods in town to make sure that whatever is accessible will turn around a school bus without utilizing private property.
So if
So
the
that'll have
turnaround
to
is...
be, we actually meet with the school bus company and representatives from the district to make sure that that can happen. Clea, as far as you know, is that
Yes, I
accommodating
mean, you
school
know,
bus?
yeah, yep, that's the way it works, yep.
Great. Right, can I get a motion to close the hearing?
I have a motion to close.
Second.
Roll call?
Clock eye. Galvin aye.
Nichols, aye?
And Benoit, aye. Who wants to be? Now that you learned our new name.
Yeah, I'm so good. I make a motion that we approve order of layout of a portion of Woodside Avenue and Oakley Drive, whereas the Select Board of the Town of Rutland, acting pursuant to GLC 82, 21 through 24, having deemed the common conveyance and necessity requiring the acceptance of a portion of Woodside Avenue and Oakley Drive as town ways, hereby lays out the said portion of Woodside Ave and Oakley Drive as public ways, all as shown on the plan referred below, and whereas the boundaries of the layout of a portion of Woodside Avenue from Station 28 and 25 to Station 35 and 89.12, and Oakley Drive, Station 0+00 to Station 2+60, are shown on a plan entitled Road As-Built Plans, Bryce Lemon Phase 2, dated December 20th, 2021, prepared by the New England Environmental Design Incorporated, which plans was referred to the planning board, and which plan is hereby adopted as part of the order, and all land lying within the layout of the portion of the Woodside Avenue from Station 28+25 to Station 35 to plus 89.12, and Oakley Drive, Station 0+00 to 2+60 are hereby laid out as public ways. The aforementioned plan is hereby forwarded to the town clerk for filing, and its foregoing layouts are hereby reported to the town for acceptance.
Second.
Any further discussion? Roll call?
Clock eye. Galvin aye.
Nichols, aye?
And Benoit, aye. Next, right?
No
Another
more
month.
roads tonight.
Another month from
At least for me.
Month from tonight.
Yeah.
Be there. Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks.
But if I may, also
Yes.
to the residents, it sounds like planning board might be having some conversation also at their next meeting. So if you have additional questions or conversation, usually it goes through planning board, I think, so.
Yes, so at their meeting last week, they have asked the town's attorney to, I'm not sure if she can, but they've asked her to come, or at least provide guidance on the homeowners association question that you guys had. So that is specifically going to be on the agenda for next Tuesday at 6:30
Where do they meet?
in the
Right here?
same room.
Right here?
Yep, and on Zoom as well. So that hopefully that'll help answer some of those questions.
I was impressed with her.
Thank you.
Right, guys, thank you.
Okay, next is department heads, and I don't.
No, well, unfortunately, Jean was out, and she actually was sick all weekend. She did come in, snuck in.
So I'm best to give you these. This is the development, and you can see what we're talking about. The porta potty, the streets, the sidewalks not being done. And there's a lot of debris that's left in the open space in the back, and that's like for the planning board. If the question is it open space or is it Blair's land for his new houses? But there's a boat back there, there's tires back there. They've been there, I'll be in the development homes 4 years. And that stuff has been moved from here to here to here, and it's never been removed from the development, so.
Do you have copies, or do you want?
That's what's on my iPhone, I could,
Okay.
you guys can keep those.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Carol, Carrie let me know this morning that she would not be able to attend.
Okay. So we don't have any department head meetings.
Well,
Go
we
on.
have Rebecca.
Rebecca's, which
She
she
could be
is.
the department head meeting tonight.
We do have a couple of department heads, but they are on other parts of the agenda, so. All right, so the town administrator update.
He's not here either.
Okay. Old business?
They get out of it. I just have a couple of things. It's been kind of crazy, as you all know, for everyone. Actually, with Tamika and I and Senator Gopi's office, we're working on the national opioid settlement, which Rutland will be allotted a certain portion of monies. What I am told initially is that whatever that amount will be will go to free cash, but there may be some parameters as to what we can spend it on. So I don't know if it's a good idea to put it in free cash if those parameters have been set. So we'll discuss more about that, okay? Tamika, does that sound right? Okay. Another thing, Becky and I met with Maya, representative last week, and there's also another, what they call a Maya Health Benefits Trust Wellness Grant that is available to us, and we have subscribers between 51 and 150, so that'll be $7,500 for certain items. Again, we'll have parameters on what we could spend it on, but we're certainly going to apply for that. Neither one is, it's not certainly not $1 million, but it's free money, and we're certainly going to follow through on that. On another note, we did talk with Janet Pierce, Executive Director of CMRPC, last week. She's coming to see us, Tamika, on
November 1st.
November 1st at the Selectmen's meeting, and I also asked her regarding other grants. I want to know the availabilities and what we can set our sights on to apply for and get some, whatever we can get. So I wanted the board to know that we're actively pursuing grants, and we'll certainly follow through with that. But other than that, no, well, really, that's all I have for updates.
Okay. Any questions for Gary at this time? This is under old business, because we've already extended a liquor license to Marty's Convenience Store, but they are adjusting their hours, I see, and they also want to adjust their liquor sales hours. And they want to sell liquor from Sunday through Saturday from 8 a.m. to 11 p.m. I think
What was the original?
11.
11.
The original was 12 p.m. to 8 p.m. So I don't believe that they specifically are looking to sell during those hours, but for flexibility's sake, they just wanted to extend it to what MGL allows, and that is what MGL states for convenience stores. So they just wanted to leave it kind of open-ended.
So do I have a motion to approve that?
Hey, Matt, I'll make a motion to approve. Second.
Any discussion, any questions? All right, roll call.
Clock eye. Galvin eye.
Nichols eye?
Wait a minute.
And Benoit aye. Thank you. This is great. We are also going to talk about the porta party on Memorial Field. Stop giggling.
I mean, after we just talked about porta potties,
I know.
Rolling around the
I
center of
know.
town.
So I guess the bottom line is it's gonna cost $600 from, is it May to November every year, and we don't know where that $600 is going to come from. So I guess we're looking for ideas. We had one idea, asking the ball teams that use the fields to split the cost for that, and they politely declined paying for that. So we have a need with no funding, so it's before the board. Whether we're gonna say yes and figure out how we're gonna get that money, or whether we're going to say no and just, it's not gonna be there.
if I may, I think the conversation from a number of people I've had in town that have heard about the situation have kind of been like, in the scheme of things, it's $600. It's not a make it or break it amount, but it was more a point as to when is the town going to make some sort of effort to support recreation, not only children recreation, but recreation. There's a lot of people that walk around the track and everything. So I think we have to have a porta pot. I mean, we need some sort of bathroom facility there, not only for the sports, but also for the other people who use the playground and even just uptown. So I think that the bigger, my sense from people around town is that the bigger concern was not that it was $600, but it was more like there's no conversation about recreation in town and how to be thoughtfully mindful and make a commitment to that and everything. And again, not solely children recreation, but adult, all age recreation. So I think that that's the sentiment. Again, I haven't brainstormed ideas on how to come up with the $600, but I don't know how we can not have some sort of facility there for the amount of people that are around, both sports-wise and other.
Yes, sir.
Madam Chair, may I make a suggestion? Today I stopped into Congressman McGovern's office.
Your name and...
Oh, Lou Shirley, 18 Blueberry Lane.
Thank you.
Let me take off the mask so they can see my
There you are.
wonderful face. Today I took it upon myself to stop at Congressman McGovern's office, and like had have it, he was there. And he and I go back a long way. I was inquiring about funding, federal funding, to deal with stuff like the blinking stop signs, okay? And he told me, and his assistant said, there's a ton of federal money that the state of Massachusetts has for all different kinds of activities. And I'm sure that probably part of that might be recreation. And recreation, if you're looking for $600, I would think maybe the thing to do would be to inquire through State Representative
McGovern.
God, I can picture him. I
Gobi.
can't think of her name.
Ferguson?
Don't get old, because my mind's not where it used to be. But anyway, Ferguson and Senator Gobi, because I know there's tons of things that you can apply to, and maybe you could find something, okay? If it becomes a problem for this coming year, I would be more than happy to donate the $600 for the coming year. Okay?
Thank you.
Through the chair.
Yes.
So, I mean, that's a good point, but maybe we should start thinking of having some kind of a public facility. And even if we look at like chemical toilets or something energy efficient or something like that, there's probably additional funding for that.
Okay.
Thank you, Lou.
And recreation as a whole, as you know, is on our goals and objectives list. So we know it's a big I don't want to say concern. It is a concern, but it's more than that. It's a big deal in town. I know I've read people saying, look at all that Holden is doing, and it's not apples to apples quite. So thank you, Mr. Canarchioli. I'm sure we'll probably figure it out, but I guess the question to this board is, do we just say the board is going to take it upon ourselves to figure out how to make this, or are we going to ask for other people to do it?
I mean, I kind of go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say through the chair, anybody who knows me knows I'm pro recreation. I mean, this town doesn't do enough for recreation. But this kinda aggravates me a little bit. $600 isn't a lot of money. And these leagues get these fields for nothing. So it just kinda aggravates me that they're coming back and saying, what do you guys do for us? And I coach 3 different teams in town. My kids both play. So this isn't an anti-Little League. But I don't know, it kinda rubs me the wrong way a little bit that, they get the fields for nothing. And we don't have the manpower, like he says in the letter, we don't, we don't mow the lawns. We don't have the manpower to mow the lawns or the money to do it.
Well, some of the lawns, they do maintain the soccer
I think
fields.
they- I
and
think
things
they
like
No,
mow
they
them.
do it, they do it.
Oh,
He's saying
okay.
we don't do it. And
I think we mow the lawns, we don't maintain, we don't
Well, no,
fix them.
No, sometimes they don't mow the lawns.
sometimes, okay.
No, he's right, that the Little League does most of the mowing that I saw, because I coach on multiple teams. He's right about that. But I think the only thing that kind of aggravates me a little bit is that it comes off as if we're not doing anything. And I just, as somebody who's 100%, I think we should do more, but I don't know, it rubs me the wrong way a little bit. Because nobody can use these fields when these leagues are going on. And that's the way it should be. I'm not saying it shouldn't be, but, give a little. That's my only comment about that.
And there are times that we can't use the fields for other things because, we take into consideration that the teams are using them. To your point, Mr. Campbell, somebody can donate $600 and it's done and nobody will ever know anything about it. It would, done anonymously or whatnot, but, it's a small little piece for a much bigger
And I
issue.
think, yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of frustration in town from the sports organizations that they do a lot and try to do even more for the towns, and they are met with more and more resistance. So there's always a struggle. And so I think that some of that is just their frustration that, yes, we use the fields, and yes, we have access to the fields and whatever, but we tried to put irrigation in, and we spent a whole lot of money on irrigation that was never hooked up, and although there was approvals and everything. And so I think that there was a lot of conversation about the scoreboard over at Central Tree for the softball players, and there's been conversation that the boards had with baseball, especially about Marsh and how that's kind of very boy-centric and not very co-ed-centric, and how they could make a commitment to improve softball or allow more gender diversity or whatever. And so I think that they're just being, I don't want to put words in their mouth, but I think the sense is there hasn't been a meeting with, or any conversation with between the board and any of the sports. And
Come and see us.
I was
Right.
gonna say, did
but it was-
they get denied to attend our meetings?
No, but I think that it was just a letter was sent saying if we need $600 and if you can each pay $300, here's who to make the check out to, versus a conversation to how. So I think that they just were a little bit also, I see both sides of it. A lot of the facts that we hear again and again is, yes, people can come to our meetings, and we as a select board should also be proactive about inviting groups in to have thoughtful conversation to address some concerns or issues, or that are larger than just a $600 porta potty bill.
Sure.
So
And I think now that the board is aware that there is a problem, we can certainly reach out to them and ask them to come.
And Carol, just to be clear, I did invite them to come tonight and they declined.
Okay.
They felt that it was a separate meeting just specific to this was warranted for further discussion.
And what happened in the past years? Why is this all of a sudden
I think
an
it was
issue?
just, it was never paid.
donated. I don't know how it came about that it was donated, but we never had to pay for it.
But it never was tended to.
Never.
So.
Right, so then
Never.
that's
It's a
why.
crime scene, that thing.
Yes, exactly.
It's awful. It's awful.
Yes.
I've had to take my kid into the bushes on the other side of the field a couple of times because you can't go near that thing.
Yes.
It's really bad.
It's gone now.
It's
though.
gone. It's gone.
Or
Yes.
was gone.
Yes.
They obviously put it on cleats.
Yes.
That's why
That's they put it.
they moved it. I'd like us to look and see, I think, rather than putting, maybe a plan, how about plan A might be something, looking at something Lyndon said about the
putting a permanent facility in the center of town for all these events and things that we have. We
That'll
should have
all-
something. Most public places, you can go to a public restroom.
I mean, the pool has their bathrooms, but they're winterized.
Right, which, maybe we shouldn't winterize them, because we just put all that money into fixing the surge underneath all of them, right? So how much does it cost to?
I think the
heat it?
infrastructure, I think the setup though has access to the pool, and I think that becomes a serious liability.
Oh, that can't be blocked
Yeah.
off, but anyway, I
But I
do
bet
think
there's-
we need a permanent, not just a porta potty
I
once
bet
in a
there's
while.
grants and funding that would go to eco stuff, all that,
Right.
so.
The Maya grant that you
The Maya
thought
grant,
that
well,
health
one stall, but at
trust
least,
grant possibly.
yeah, that'd be great. Yes, sir.
Dick Williams, Overlook. We talked last several years and all, the town of Rutland should have a grant writer.
Oh, yes.
For all the grants that are out there, the town should hire a grant writer.
We thought you were.
We,
No.
we have talked
No.
about getting a grant writer that will write their own grant to be able to pay their salary, so, but that is, again, that is definitely was on our goals and objectives for this year,
Excellent.
so.
Yay.
Thank you.
Good point. Excellent point.
So, through the chair, so I think the difficult part is you can't, it's only $600, but we pull money out of everybody's budgets all the time and cut them. Where's this money going? You can't just pull it out of nowhere. It's gotta come from somewhere.
I thought that it was paid for through the fall, and that we really need to have a plan for
Correct.
the spring. So
We
we
just
have,
needed it for the fall, but it's something we have to plan for in the upcoming budget.
Okay, so we have time to make a permanent.
yeah, and we have time to look at grant opportunities
Okay.
and everything also.
So I make a motion, we table it and look into the grants and what our alternatives are.
Second.
Second. Any further discussion? We're gonna table that. All right, roll call.
Galvin, aye.
Nichols, aye?
Whitman, I.
And Benoit, aye.
And just through the chair, for clarification, we're not just not talking
Not
about
talking
it.
about
We're
it.
leaving it to the town administrator.
going
We're not
to-
just putting it off till the spring,
Right.
so.
All right. New business. We have a dispatcher center promotion. Do you want to tell us about Michelle?
Oh, good evening. So, yep, we're looking to promote Michelle Sporn. She's been with the department just over, I believe, 11 years. Has worked as full-time dispatcher, communication training officer, a supervisor, and now going to move to the role of deputy director. She knows the operations of the department just as good as me, maybe even better at points. So she's going to be a great fit to assist me with my role as director. She'll be able to maintain full operations side of the department where I can focus on the administrative side as well as work on more time on securing grant funding for capital items as well as salaries within the department. So that's what we have here today is the contract for her.
When was the promotion?
We haven't publicly done it yet. We were waiting until the contract was all completed before making an announcement.
So there's a couple of things on what we're looking at. First of all, if the contract is effective July 1, 2022, are we talking about retroactive pay?
Correct.
Okay.
Which is, this whole salary is fully funded by the State 911 Department as well.
And salary is equal to?
That is on page 2, sorry. 782.5.
725.
Yep. This was funded, prorated last year as well as fully funded for this year. And I can apply again next year for the full salary.
Up to 3 years, right?
Up to 3 years, fully, yes.
Tamika, there's a dollar figure here?
That was just printed up, the copy that I received. I didn't put that there. That's probably
Scratch
the
that.
hour, yeah, like
Scratch
hourly.
Well, I thought the contract was only for $34.
I know.
Yeah.
So through the chair, so I guess I want an explanation onto why it's retroactive if the contract wasn't in place. How can you go backwards and pay, or I'm not quite clear how you make a contract retroactive.
That's a good question. That's a good question.
Because
I
it
don't
wasn't
have
in
the
place,
answer
so
for it,
how are
yeah.
you paying for something that wasn't in place?
Through the chair, I was thinking the same thing. I mean, it's one thing to
Yeah.
start the contract today,
Right.
but you're saying it started.
Right.
So I guess
Yeah.
what I'm wondering, so when did the one, I'm sorry, Phyllis, when did
Phyllis,
she
yeah.
leave?
She left July 7th. It's July 7th.
This is a week overlap, so
Yeah.
we need to
Yeah.
change
Yep.
that. I guess I don't,
I mean,
I guess I'm wondering, because it's a grant, if
Right.
we don't do this, are we?
right, through the chair, maybe like the contract changes, but then maybe there's compensation for acting in the period between the contract. But I don't see how you can go back and pay somebody for a contract they weren't under, they weren't
Correct.
There's
officially
there may
under
be other
contract. It
things in
doesn't-
here that,
Agreeable.
because
If I may
if
through the-
she's gotten overtime and all of that
Mhm.
stuff.
If I may, through the chair. From the way I understand it, one meeting with Michael, is this is actually less of a salary that Michelle was making as a supervisor.
Yeah.
Also, there's one other item that once this is signed off by the Board of Selectmen, Michelle has to withdraw from the union. So as far as retroactivity, there is no increase, so there's not additional monies. So it would basically be, I think, just for the title.
Right.
But through the chair, that's
Right,
not my
it's-
question, is
right.
how are you obligating a contract for something that happened previously? That's not how it works.
If it was
You
a
sign
week
a
or two ago,
contract
then
when it becomes active.
I think it should be, I think it should become active the date of signature.
Yeah.
I do too.
Right.
So which would be.
That doesn't make sense to me.
And through the chair, you said before this isn't going to affect staffing at all?
No.
So like I said, if there's some other way to compensate or whatever, that's fine. I understand that she may have done certain responsibilities during that period, but as far as the contract, in my opinion, if I'm signing a contract, I want something that's starting now and going forward, not something that was retroactive for a contract.
Which we can change that day. And we're not looking for extra
Right.
money for her. We're not looking
Yeah.
for that. So if we just change that effective date from July 1 to today's date.
To October 17, 2022, and keep it through June 30th.
Yes.
Because there may be other implications
Yes.
too, that she may say, hey, I signed this and I should have gotten this or something.
So I would make a motion to approve, contingent on it being effective today's date through July 30th,
June 30th.
June 30th,
2025.
2025.
Second. It's just the cover page that changed.
Any further discussion? Is everybody comfortable with that now, or? All right, roll call,
Clock eye. Galvin eye.
Nichols eye?
and Benoit aye. And next is the intermunicipal agreement for the regional dispatch services with Barry. Remind me, I should know, but why just Barry at this
No,
point?
yeah, which I had a question. I don't think it's just for Barry, it's for all 5 communities.
That's what
I
I
think
thought.
the
Thank you.
agenda,
Oh, I apologize, that was my
That's
mistake.
okay.
yeah, it's for all 5
So it is
communities.
for all of them. This is the time that Michael and Gary spent a lot of time with the 4 other towns, going through this line by line, by line, by line ad nauseam. And I was happy to sit on a couple of them and figure out it was just interesting to see. And it was very interesting to see the evolution of the group. And how they were all like this, and then they came together in a very cohesive manner. So I appreciate all the work that you both did on this. So We don't have the other one in front of us, Michael, but if you wanna, is there anything, could you give us the high-level view, and then if there was anything of substantial changes?
I'm just going back here, see if I had it here with me right now.
There was a lot of reorganization and things that were repeated in places and brought into similar sections.
Yeah, there wasn't too much changes. Come on, get back to page one. Just on the first section, section 1, bullet number, I believe that's 1, 2, 3, 4, was added just to every 3 years. The IMA working group that met over the last few weeks to make this contract will meet every 3 years in the future to review the IMA every 3 years to see if anything needs to be changed. The previous IMA was in place since OCAM came in, so those IMAs were very outdated, had language in there that didn't belong in there, equipment that the towns were required to maintain didn't even exist anymore. So there was a lot of outdated language that was in this contract that we removed and just replaced some minor stuff here and there. I don't see anything that was.
I think before, if I recall, you were billing twice a year. Now they'll be billing on July 1.
One of each year, yes.
And due by August 31st. So they do have a little bit of time, but usually people like to get the bill in July when their fiscal years start, just pay the bill. And it saved Michael from having to bill half and then bill the second half mid-year through the year, so, or through the year.
And then just supplying them with budget reports and financial reports yearly. But I have gone above that and put together a live dashboard that's on our website that they can access and see the finances in live time as I update them from when I get the what are those reports that I get from expense reports from Gene. I enter those into my system and that updates live to their dashboard that they can see. That's what they've wanted to see. They wanted more transparency, so I put that together for them, and I think they were very pleased at our last meeting with that. So that's mainly all the big changes in this IMA. And the only other big change is we removed all 5 towns from a single IMA and made them 5 separate IMAs. Just the ease of having them signed by each select board. It's easier to have 5 separate and just go to each meeting and get them all done instead of trying to grab it from here, go to the next one, and so on and so on.
So this is going to be a signature page.
Yes.
If I may, through the chair, obviously, Carol, you know that we've been working on this for several months. We've kind of opened the book, the 3 of us with the other towns. You seem very happy with the way we've discussed it and how we did open the book, and certainly became more transparent in their eyes, which we were trying to do. There are minor, really minor changes. There was a couple of redundancies in this agreement. We did send this off to legal. Legal has approved it. We took out a paragraph or so because of the redundancies, but other simple things like where it says general, section 1, it just went all the way down, and it was just, there was no section 2, and it was just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, forever and ever, amen. So, at any rate, everybody's very pleased with this. They're very happy, especially at the last meeting. So I'm happy we got this out of the way, and certainly thanks to Michael and thanks to yourself for being there. And we're good to go. I'm very satisfied and glad that this went through. So thank you, Michael.
No problem. Thank you.
He did come up with a very interesting, which they just fell out of their chairs about, as far as the budget goes, a series of graphs that shows his expenditures, and they have access to that anytime, so they can look. There's nothing to hide. All questions will be answered, and that's just the way it is now.
Yep.
Well done, thanks.
No problem.
That saved a lot of headache.
Yes. Yes.
Can we get a motion?
So moved.
Didn't you already make a motion? Yeah, I made the motion with changing the date to approve it.
That's,
Oh, I'm sorry, that's the other one, sorry.
you got me questioning myself.
You can't do two things in the record. I second that.
All right. Any further discussion from the board? Any questions for? All right.
And
Yeah.
no, this is 4 separate ones because it's Rutland with all the host towns.
Yeah, 4 separate,
So-
sorry, yeah.
No, I just
There should
wanted,
be-
there's
But we're
5
only
towns total,
signing-
right?
We're only signing one, or do you want us to actually sign 4?
So technically we need,
I didn't think about that when I was looking at it this
Yeah, I
afternoon.
didn't realize that. I
yeah, we need to
apologize.
sign 4.
Who has to go first? It doesn't matter if you've got a meeting with anybody first?
No, it doesn't matter. So we'll need 4 signature pages.
Well, we're approving them to sign all of them anyway.
Yeah, but we need to sign them. He wants to take one of these sheets with the contract attached, but with our signatures on one to Barry,
Yep.
to Ocam, to Warren,
Yeah.
to Hubbardson.
Do
So
they have to be wet
we'll have to,
pages?
I don't think so.
if you don't have a meeting before
No,
our
I
next meeting, you could bring additional
Okay.
pages and we could,
Well, we
actually-
can stop in and sign them in the next
Right,
2
as long as we
Yeah,
approve
I mean-
it, yeah.
I'm not in no rush.
but
yeah.
if he's not in a
Yeah.
rush, I'm
No.
just
Yeah,
saying, then we don't
no
have
rush.
to
Just
coordinate
do it
that.
way, yeah.
So then why don't I too then say, if we're going to do that, why don't we change this member town to the particular towns?
Yep, yep.
And so we won't sign tonight, but we will at the next meeting. If
Yep.
somebody decides that they want this between now and then,
Cool. I'll make
Tamika
sure.
will
Yep.
contact us and we'll run up there and get that done. All right.
Okay. Just on another note, the Hubbardson Tower is up. It's all up. And the shelter's there. So it's all there, just, it went up on Saturday. It was finished on Saturday, so. Just a lot of utilities left and a lot of radio work to do, and then should be up and running. It'll be another,
It's erected.
yes, it's up, finally. Took a long time.
Thank you.
years.
And there's
Yes,
nothing else
many,
with you.
many years.
Are we still voting
Yes, we do need to vote.
You guys already did.
We did
So,
vote. See,
Motion second, just for
Roll
that's what I thought.
call.
Motion and second roll call.
Yeah.
Bye. Galvin, aye.
Nichols, aye.
Whitman, I.
Did you say?
Good night, I. Good Lord.
Make it official.
All right. I was worried about whether you could leave or not. I think you can leave.
I'm good now? All right.
Stick
Good night.
Good night. So the retiree health insurance through Maya.
Me.
No, that's me.
So-
I'm a retired.
You want-
Thank you.
Just to give you an overview, the Medex plan that we have for our retirees that are over 65 that are Medicare eligible, it renews in January. We got the rate at a 0% increase, so it's going to maintain the same rate it was last calendar year, and so the retirees will see no increase. The town, I had budgeted for a 3% increase, so we saved, it's only about $1,000 on the budget that we passed, but it's still $1,000, so. I'm just looking to inform you of that those rates came in with a no 0% increase, so that was a good thing. As Gary said, we did sit down and meet with Maya, our representative, and they kind of talked about what we're looking at for FY24 for the active rates too, and some of our claims again we're at the high end of things. So I've actually sent out an email to the IAC to start discussions with them to see what we can do, what they're open to for changing the plans to save money and that type of stuff. So we're going to aggressively look at the active plans to try and get those rates down. So.
I guess I'm looking at the math on this though and don't understand the zero. If it's 33.33% less and then 0.36% more, how's that zero?
Oh, on the form? Well, it's the breakdown, the way that they calculate it.
Okay, so it's.
Because the medical part went down, but the prescription part went up, because it's, the prescription part is a federal coverage and that type of stuff, so they held the rate at the.
Excellent.
One of the benefits of being in this Maya Health benefits, it's a trust, so there are a lot of different towns that use the Health Benefits Trust, and they also have funds that, like through COVID, they actually gave us a premium break. The first year we had a 50% reduction in our premiums that went to all the employees as well. In 21, they gave us a full month break from premium because people weren't using the services, but they are able to pull from their funds that they have in their trust to keep the rates lower. So it does benefit the town to stay in this group.
Great. Tamika, I'm not seeing.
There's nothing the board needs to sign.
Yeah. I'm just kind of informing you, and
Just we need to approve it?
Approve it, yes.
Okay, no signatures, just approval. All right, so do I have a motion to approve
So moved.
Second.
the health insurance? Any further discussion from the board? Questions? All right, roll call?
Clock eye. Galvin eye.
Nichols eye?
Wait a minute.
And Benoit aye. Thank you.
Thanks, Becky.
So we have requests for one-day liquor licenses, and honestly, no matter how many times I try to say what this is coming up in October, I can't. Roottoberfest. It's
Rue or Rutto?
I can't say it.
Rutland, so it's
It's Ruttoberfest.
It's
Ruttoberfest.
It's Ruttoberfest. All right. Every time I look at it, I go, okay. So we have three one-day licenses, one for Milk Room, one for Cold Brook Springs Winery, and Seven Saws Brewing. And this is going to be, the day is October 22nd, which is next weekend, from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m.
So my question
Yep.
is to you, the chair or whatever. Yeah, I know this is for a town event, but these people are gonna be making money on it, and I think they should be paying for the license.
They
I
did.
know in the past we have not charged them, but,
They did.
They did.
Yep, I charged them the fee. They each paid the $60 fee.
oh, okay, because concerts and all that, we haven't been doing much with that.
Right. Nope, they
Okay.
did pay the fee.
No problem.
And we didn't charge the fee for the concerts, none of them?
The board waived
No.
the fee.
Did you get money did you get contributions, Sonia, from any of the?
That, I don't know, I'd have to ask Jeff that he started all that, so I really don't know the answer to that. so.
Through the chair, didn't the Milk Room do something with that?
I was gonna say, I thought they were giving a portion of the funds from the tricentennial
I think it
brew
was
that they did, but I don't
$20,000
know.
broken up to 4 different groups or something.
For the particular sale of,
Yeah.
I think that's.
I just follow on what Skip said, I think that we've just gotten into the habit of waiving the fees, and we should really take a bigger look and see who's making money, and maybe we could make a couple bucks. All right.
So I'll make a motion to approve all 3 licenses for a one-day liquor license at East Hill or Rocktoberfest or whatever you want to call it.
Second.
Yes.
I have a couple of questions, I guess. I think that the event was advertising 10 alcohol serving places, and we have 3.
So, unfortunately, the one-day liquor license applications were not received, and when I tried to seek them out, I ended up connecting with Kevin Jarvie last week, and at that point, it was too late for all of those brewers to submit for their applications. So Kevin has agreed to purchase the alcohol from the other vendors, and he is going to sell their alcohol under his permit. So they will not, the vendors that are not listed will not be selling alcohol.
Do we see any problem with that?
I see a problem with it, but
I don't know.
I know.
Is it legal? I don't know.
My question is because I know we had gone through and I didn't look at it before coming tonight, the MGL that says about the beer and malt
Purchase it from a
license.
store. The MGL, I think.
Right,
references
but
that
they
you can
had
purchase it
a
from
list
store.
of like approved wholesale vendors that you could purchase from.
Right.
I think that they had to be purchased. I don't know. I know for sure it can't be through a, like, you can't go to the grocery store or
Right.
wherever and pick up a 6-pack or whatever and then sell it. But I thought that they were like approved wholesalers that, and I don't know off the top of my head who all the participants that aren't here are, and if they fall onto that list of wholesale options, or if there's more than what the state has listed as wholesale options, if that makes sense.
All I can say is that I tried my best to facilitate something that was not planned well for. And when I spoke to Kevin, he indicated that the other places would not have been able to get their certificates of insurance and everything to the office by the time it needed to be for this meeting. So we submitted for the folks that we had. And that's all I really can say about it, because it's really been the 300th committee.
So through the chair, I don't know if it makes a difference, like Lilac Heads sells all different people's beer, so there's licenses different than the license than the?
Yeah,
because
so
one
that
day,
does-
one
So
day
then
license-
that does make the distinction between the ability to sell other people's as opposed to their own, then I guess.
I mean, I think that there is, I'm trying to look right now, I think that there is an avenue, I just don't know.
I mean, Kevin does have a liquor license in town that is not a one-day liquor license. He has a farmer brewer's liquor's license through the ABCC. So I don't know if that changes anything.
Through the chair, but that's not gonna be on the Milcorn property, right?
Correct, it's not.
Right. And just to confirm the number that these, I don't think any of them have had 30 one-day licenses yet for the
No.
calendar year?
They haven't.
Okay. Because I know that was, I see this file. It just says special licenses cannot purchase alcoholic beverages from a package store. This is under mass.gov through the ABCC site. I know that they put a lot of onus on the towns to approve for one days. It's less regulated, I think, at the state level and more regulated at the town level.
Yeah.
I think I'm a little frustrated that the event is this weekend and it's been advertised and we're just now getting it and
Yep, and I've been
have
trying to get the
questions. So.
information for weeks now, and this is what I had as of Wednesday. And so this was what I was able to get.
Yeah, it's not, I mean,
Yeah, we thought that, I was under the impression that when Dick Schultz applied that.
You need to say your name and your address, sorry.
Sandra Thomas, 110 Turkey Hill Road. I thought that, Dick having applied, it's just ignorance on my part and the people that know how all this stuff works. They're not regulars at the meetings anymore, so we were just doing what we thought was right, and, Dick applied, it's on Dick's property, Dick applied, and we thought that was good, and I just found out, more substantially on Friday that that wasn't the case, and trying to get in touch with everybody, that was next to impossible, so that was what, Kevin and Tamika had come up with, that perhaps that could suffice the need.
it seems like at least some of them are listed as farm, like are on the list that you can purchase as, I don't have the list in front of me of all of the vendors, but it seems like at least some of them are on the list. And while we're looking and thinking, this was following the new application with the TIPS certification and everything. Yeah, I see.
Do you want me to help you keep looking? Or?
I'm almost done, I think. So, if the list that I see is correct, there's I don't know, I want to make sure that the state list is updated. It seems like it's updated frequently. Because it looks like maybe half or so of them are listed, I think. But I'm not sure if they're listed as like a DBA name that isn't been updated.
Tamika, is there any reason why we only have one insurance thing?
That was my mistake. I have them for all three.
Okay.
I just accidentally only stapled one.
I was
to
just
it.
curious why there's something.
Yeah, no, we do have all three though.
Thank you.
So if somebody, I don't know if you have the file or not.
I do.
I don't see Rascallion. I don't.
How do you spell it?
Rapscallion,
Rapscallion, they're in
R-A-P-S-C, they're in Spencer.
Spencer, yeah.
I don't see Moon Hill. And I don't see Thirsty Robot.
You probably know where all these are, right,
I
Becky?
think Thirsty Robot's on
Line.
Pittsburgh, and, yeah.
I need the wineries here.
Like I said, I don't know when the site is updated, and it's not clear. It says for a one-day special permit, you must contact the local licensing authority of the city or town the event is held in. That would be us. The local licensing authorities may issue special licenses for the sale of wines and or malt beverages to any enterprise. However, special licenses for the sale of all alcoholic beverages may be issued to non-profit organizations only. The license, that's the sale of all alcoholic beverages. The license is to be utilized for a single day. The local licensing authority cannot grant special licenses to any person for more than a total of 30 days per calendar year, which we had asked about. To any person that has an on-premise license application pending before it, and any premises that has an alcoholic beverages license. So, like, Eastview does not have a. And then it says, special licensees cannot purchase alcoholic beverages from a package store. Please note, for the most recent version of this list, please see and then it's linked to a list of authorized sources. And it says that it was updated 10/3/2022. but it doesn't say if, like, someone was to purchase it as a wholesaler, you know?
Doesn't specify that. Not to put Kevin on the spot, but he indicated that that is something he has done in the past. He has something through his financial system that allows him to separate who, whose alcohol he sold so that he can properly compensate them. That's not to say whether or not, that's okay or not, but I'm just saying it's something that he has indicated he's done before. Which I think is why he had suggested it.
Right.
Tamika, I just sent you the link so
Okay.
that you'll have that.
That's a good thing to have, sure.
And keep using the link. It downloads in Excel, but don't use it because it looks like they just updated it in the last 15 days. So, so you must do that often.
Through the chair, this doesn't specify that on the permit, right? That he's gonna sell other alcohol. That's just something he wants to do. So we don't have to hold any of this up. It's
No,
just
we
a
don't.
matter of
It's
whether
that
we're
the-
gonna allow him to do that.
Exactly, and
So,
what the
I mean,
board's
this
feelings
can
are
be-
on other vendors.
This can be cleared after the fact. I don't think it prevents us from going forward with these.
No, because those three have applied in the manner that they should have, right?
But we need to clarify to make sure before we tell him whether he's allowed to do that or not. Right? Isn't that the only question?
I think that's the question.
So,
And it might be all but 2 or 3.
So,
It might be as simple as just charging him a fee for each
Right.
one of the people that he's selling their beer from. The same fee as it would be as if you got the damn license.
But we can get through the town administrator to clarify and let him know whether it's gonna be acceptable or not. But I think, I guess my point is we can go forward with these.
Maybe check with ABCC.
I've touched with them in the past, and they don't.
They don't get into these.
They don't
like
stick to the
giving
one-day
opinions.
not
one
on
days.
one-day liquor licenses, because I had actually reached out to them back when we were revamping our application, and they basically said it's at the discretion of the, local licensing authority. So the only thing I would just ask of the board is that if you can provide some sort of guidance as to how you guys feel about that, or if you feel that they should not be allowed to serve because they didn't apply in the way that they should have. Just because I'm not sure that we would specifically, it seems like it's at the discretion of the board because MGL doesn't specify outside of the package store.
I kind of think we should let him, it's a short notice, but that as long as the people don't know it's a precedent we're setting for everybody else, because this is the problem.
And the responsibility's all falling on Kevin. It's not allowing them to actually open up their own booth or something.
Yes, ma'am.
Karen Norwalp, 149 Palmagussit Road. So you're the representative from the 300th Committee. When did you folks all reach out to all of these breweries and wineries?
Righty.
It's been over like the last maybe 2 months or so. Just
Okay.
trying to get the list and get everybody.
So
who's a
they've
yes,
had
who's
it,
a no.
because I was going to say, so they did have adequate time. Whether they chose to do it or not, they did have adequate time. Because that, in the 2 months, they could have gotten secured a one-day insurance policy and all of those things.
We're still compiling our list of people, trying to get.
But you
know,
started having conversations with some of these maybe not, but some of them that haven't applied, you did reach out to
a
2
couple
months
of them,
ago.
yeah, and a couple of them were just a couple weeks ago that were able to make it work. Staffing was a big problem, so.
Yeah, that would be my only thing.
So it sounds like we have no problems with Seven Saws and Colesbrook.
Whatever.
But if we sign the milk room, I think at this point we're signing.
I mean, I guess.
No, I don't think we are. I don't
It's
think
still
we're
a one-day
not.
liquor
No,
license
we're just
for milk
signing
room.
for the
It's at
milk
your
room.
discretion if you allow him to sell
Yeah.
the others, but that license doesn't specifically allow him to
But-
do that.
It doesn't, but
I think also kind of the converse of my questions is that on nowhere here are they stating what they're serving. I mean, we know who they are, but I know sometimes Seven Saws has brought something else along to serve not only Seven Saws but something else. And
I specified when, there should be a spot on the application that says what type of alcohol you're serving.
Right, no, but beer and wine.
She's saying brand.
Brand.
Oh,
I'm not
brand,
saying
I'm
like.
sorry, I thought you meant type of
No,
alcohol.
sorry, no, I know type because for all of these, none of them are nonprofits, so I assume it's just.
Correct, and I did tell them that when they applied, that it was wine and malt.
Although, I guess if they're coming in under the 300th, this is that.
But that's the thing,
Right.
That's this is where there's a lot of gray area, and the 300 has not had any communication on this specifically. This was just me communicating with them and having them apply individually and pay a fee. So I don't know that umbrella, I wouldn't be comfortable saying that allows them to serve as a nonprofit.
Right.
That's just me. I'm sorry. I shouldn't say that. I'm not a member of the board. I'm just saying based on the behind the scenes.
Well, yeah, and I guess that's a little bit to my point, and also the fact that on our applications, nowhere does it say what brand of anything are you serving. And so my question was more just knowing what's been advertised kind of to the public as all these other breweries are going to be present, and then but we only have stuff, and knowing kind of some of the stuff that had happened over the summer and everything, that there's clear communication as far as what's being done to the public. If it's been advertised and people are paying for something, are they getting what they're paying for, and everything. And I guess this is maybe not here nor there, but we also, I mean, I know in town we have Lilac Hedge that essentially serves a lot of different breweries and everything, and so in some ways that could have potentially been a mitigating option. I know that there's many other layers there, but just that we have other facilities in town that are able to essentially serve that function also.
But technically Kevin also can serve in that function, but it's not on his property.
Right.
So that's where that...
Right. No, and I'm not, I mean, I just feel like if it's been very clearly advertised to the public that all these breweries are going to be present, and then they're not present, but their alcohol is, like, I don't know.
You have reached out to everybody that you knew, and you haven't been able to work with them because they...
No, I have no information on any of those people. So Kevin was the one that indicated that he would not be able to contact and get information from all of those breweries in time for it to happen for this meeting.
So through the chair, in my opinion, if Tamika hadn't have told us that, we wouldn't even know.
Right.
And I think we need to find out if it's allowed or not. But we're looking, right now, we're looking at these licenses that we don't want to hold up for these 3 breweries. And if there is an allowance for that, according to state laws or whatever, then that's a total separate thing. That's what he's serving at his...
Yeah. We just need to make sure that they don't come in and set up shop.
Right, so I think we need to have an answer and tell him, no, you shouldn't do that or should do that, but we should still act on the 3 requests that we currently have, in my opinion.
I agree that the current request, again, to my point, that we don't, nowhere on the application does it ask what brand or what brewery they're serving. I just would also want to make sure that they're appropriately staffed with tips, a good ratio of tips certified employees also if they're serving.
Well, I did notice that like Kevin's the only one that doesn't have a tips number.
Right, he did not put down his tips number. We've never required that.
Right.
I had put it, when we went through the process, I had put it on the application because it was good information to have, but it's not something that is required to have. So that's why I guess I didn't press the issue. But again, I feel like in this situation, it's at the board's discretion whether it's allowed or not. I don't know that there's another resource to go to find out.
We have found out that it's not required, but it is the board's decision at some point that we wanted to have tips certified people, so.
Right, but as far as Kevin being able to sell the other alcohol, I think ultimately the decision lies with the board, because I don't know that there's any other resources outside of MGL at this point.
Yes, ma'am.
Karen Narwhal, 149 Palmagussit Road. If you don't have tip servers and somebody overserves, who's going to pay that bill?
So if I may, on the application it says, will you be using professional, in parentheses, certified bartenders? The Milgram application in that space says yes. The Coldbrook Springs does not have an answer in that space. And Seven Saws in that space says yes.
Cold Stone
That-
provided his tip
Right,
certification card.
That's what I was gonna say next, was that, then it says, please list the bartenders, their tip certification number, and the establishment they are from. Milgram does not have the tip certification number, but lists the bartenders. Coldbrook Springs lists the name and the certification number, and Seven Saws lists a name and a certification number. So, I wonder, is it like a information, I mean, it doesn't
He
say,
filled out the form and he probably didn't have her
right,
tip number.
right.
I would
Yeah, he filled it out when he was in my office that day.
I would imagine. But we should get that number from him. I don't think it's do or die for this one, because I'm making an assumption that they've gone through that training to be where they are, but, all right, so
Got a motion and you
Yeah.
got a second? And
yeah, and we've had discussion. Are we okay where we're at with this? All right. Roll
Okay.
call.
Galvin, aye.
Nichols eye.
Whiteman, aye.
And Benoit, aye. All right. Glenwood Road and Campbell Street. Sir, what can you tell us?
I can tell us that we did get some phone calls from residents in that area regarding the intersection being a public safety hazard.
So this is Glenwood and Campbell.
Glenwood and Campbell.
Okay.
We were asked if we could put up speed bumps, and I believe, as you all know, in this part of the country, we don't put up speed bumps. We have put up temporary speed bumps in the past, which had to be hilted into the blacktop. The problem with them is once you take them out for the wintertime use and you start to get the moisture in there and they freeze and eliminates the blacktop. And if you put in permanent speed bumps, if you hit them straight on with a plow, it could damage the plow and the piston and the undercarriage. If you tilt the plow, you'll start scraping up the speed bump. So we can't win in this part of the country with a speed bump. So we've gone down, we've visited the site several times. It does conform to the MassDOT spec for an intersection. It has the proper radius. So what we are proposing, through the Department of Public Works and myself, is to do some serious tree trimming, take the tree out of the center of the island, put some berm up around existing, and put up a flashing stop. So that's our proposal. That's, I think, right now, that's the best alternative. If we were to completely try to make that a T intersection, one of the persons would really have no access to Glenwood from their current driveway, so it wouldn't be good. Plus, it would cost $30,000 to $50,000 to scrape everything up, repave, reform, take the older blacktop out, and hire a paving company to do the work.
So through the chair, Gary, what about those things that kind of just make noise, that get people to slow down, you know?
Rumble strips?
Yeah.
Well, they did.
It's not really that high speed of an intersection.
Okay.
To really be effective, we could certainly put
I
it in
just see
there,
those a
but-
lot in intersections that tend to be.
Yeah, this is a good example of those right on Barry Paxton Road, 122.
Correct.
Yeah.
Good example, but
That's
that's a
a real
higher
trail.
speed road where it does make a
And is that
difference.
expensive, and is it easier to maintain, like, doesn't have any effect with plowing or any of that kind of stuff?
It does not have an effect with plowing. The only part I worry about something when you're cutting into existing big conch is the moisture getting in and making it separate. But they have not done that because of the V shape, and the water's got a place to run off up on Barry Paxton Road.
I think if I remember correctly, also when there was conversation about the Wachusett Street intersection, that the machinery to put the rumble strips in is something that would have to be rented if we were to
Right.
do it in-house, and there's a significant cost to do
Right,
that,
you can't do
especially.
that with just a straight edge blade.
Right, and
Gotta be done right.
especially for a road where speed isn't necessarily the predominant
Right,
issue. It's
right.
more the line of visibility and people just understanding that it's a curvy road and they have
Right.
to take their time and look.
Right. Yeah, the other spot that it's Coldbrook, is it Coldbrook Road?
Yeah,
Yeah, it comes out and
right.
Barry there. That's a good spot, but that's a straight shot. The rumble strips are very effective,
And I
but I
think
don't
it's a
think
50,
they work in this area.
50 miles per hour speed limit over there, where this shouldn't be that fast. And I know people do fly, but I don't think they go as fast as that, and it's more just the line of visibility, I think.
So, this is information, Gary, or are you asking us to?
So, well,
Make a
it's our
decision of
proposal
some
to go that route. There has been a lot of building up there, as you've seen. You've all seen the additional houses. So certainly there's additional cars, vehicular traffic going through there. But everything meets as far as a standard cross intersection, if you will. There's a couple of others in town that I'm sure you're aware with that have the same layout. I'd kind of be concerned that if we were to go to the extreme with this intersection and completely reconfigure, you may have others try to follow suit, which would be very costly, which the others are really not necessary at this time, nor is this one, because it meets specs.
So through the chair, I mean, I would recommend, I mean, at least even if it's like the first phase, if this show, if, you know, if they do these
Exactly.
improvements, it's a fairly inexpensive fix, and, you know, it may eliminate or at least deter the issues.
Yeah, and I think that this is, Carol, to your point, ongoing point, is the cost of doing business. As the town continues to grow and we continue to put houses everywhere, then there's a cost of doing business because increased traffic is creating more traffic at these intersections that function perfectly as they're supposed to, but now have increased traffic, probably from some people who didn't necessarily grow up here with those types of intersections. So I think that's a mindful thing that we as a board and planning board especially also, I think, need to be mindful of, that there's longer term considerations.
If it was a high safety, I'd say we need to bump that up to a priority, but it's right in line with everything else, that let's do what we can to make it safe by taking down trees.
I'm not gonna argue with that, we're fine.
Berms.
You causing trouble?
Yes.
I was, yes, I was.
Yes, he was. That's why I was talking over him. Anyway. All right, so
yeah.
it's just,
So I
I
would-
guess it's just in a plan to,
I would support going with the recommendation of the
yeah.
town
I do
administrator.
too.
I'm not nuts about cutting down a tree for the sake of cutting down a tree, but I
Right.
think that,
Safety.
right,
It's an ugly tree.
It's an
I was gonna say, I need to drive out there with the intent of like looking at things versus taking my children somewhere.
The tree was called Tired. The tree is tired.
And a lot of us are gonna need that with this winter, so. So we don't have to take any action.
I don't think we do. I think it's on the plan to take care of it. Make it happen. All right, so next is the same intersection, Glenwood and Campbell Street, and there is a request for a sponsored square, named square there. What the board would be asked to do tonight is to agree to put it on the special town meeting's warrant. Because it does need to be, it's a named property for the town. We can say, yes, we'll put it on the warrant. It goes to special town meeting and the folks of the town vote on whether they will accept that or not. So,
So we're really just making
Yeah.
a motion to place.
to place,
Right.
which is a little before we're placing other warrants, but we wanted to make sure that if something else needed to be done, that we gave Mr. Pinocchioli the time to do it, or at least the heads up. So,
And through the chair, I guess we need to get more clarification on the process and stuff like this going forward, so I know there's some confusion as to, because
right,
there should be a
right.
process
We
in
thought we
place,
had a
but
process in
right.
place. When we tried to implement the process, we found
Right.
some lack of
Process?
So we are looking at it again and again. Policies and procedures are on our goals and objectives for the year, and we are certainly aware of this one as being one of the ones we'll address.
So I'd make a motion to place the proposed warrant circle.
Second.
For discussion, because they're going to be doing some things with that intersection, I would just suggest that you work closely with Gary and Mr. Buckley, just to be sure
Yeah,
of
if you-
timing and things?
If I may, Madam Chair, if you remember, and a few times I came before you, I mentioned the fact that we were going to take down that tree because it's dead. It's a pine tree, it's partially dead, it's ugly, it doesn't lend any beauty to that triangular area. Make sure that the grass was maintained, get rid of the stump, get rid of that ugly stone. There's a citizen who lives in the vicinity that would like that. Replace it with the proper stone. By the way, Mr. Clark, we're also working on the one to replace down on Mr. Anderson's place. It's just gonna take a
I
while
appreciate
because the guy is busy and it's gonna take a while.
I really
But
appreciate that.
it's in the process of being taken
Yep.
care of. So, I mean, and certainly we would work with the DPW and Gary to make sure, because, you know, our thought is to really beautify that place. And I noticed like the stop sign is leaning, we wanna fix that up, there'll be a pole sign that'll have a sign on it saying Fred and Shirley Warren Square, there'll be the stone itself. We'll make sure that it's maintained, at least for the first few years, and hopefully the town can take over in terms of cutting the grass, but we'll make sure that that gets taken care of. And anything else that we would be more than happy to work with the DPW on that, to
Great.
make sure that it's maintained. A suggestion.
Just through the chair, so just as long as visibility is always in mind, because I think that's part of the whole thing that we're addressing, so.
Yeah,
those
right,
things are
clean it up.
Yeah.
Up good, so hopefully, to Gary, if you may, just getting back to the speed, the people not adhering to the stop sign. I think the blinking light would be good,
Yeah.
but I see in some areas, in some states that I've gone through on my way to Florida, that there's also a warning light telling people in yellow, blinking, that there's a stop sign ahead. And I wonder if we're looking at grants, and like I said, Mr. McGovern, Congressman McGovern said, the state of Massachusetts has plenty of federal money to deal with roads and stuff like that, so maybe we could get something through a grant there, and now we have a double whammy.
You would, and I think the only concern, Louis, is there would have to be a trip mechanism.
I
You
understand.
don't want that going, obviously 24/7, you're gonna
Right.
bother some of the other households, but I'm sure there's
Yeah.
a keyway and a trip.
I'm sure that,
That could activate that, but I'll look into
I'm
that
sure
when
there
I
is.
contact his office.
And I'd just like to make one statement. First of all, thank you for taking care of this. I tried to go through the process the correct way. I went before the Historic Commission. They were okay with it, other than the fact that they said they believed it wasn't their right to, or their ability to put it on. And if you remember when I came back to you folks from that, the suggestion was actually what was written in the email to you, which was a perplexing thing to me. So I'm glad that you put it on, and we'll move forward. But before I leave, I would be remiss in not making this statement. In the 9 years I served as a selectman, the town of Rutland was very fortunate, and we as selectmen were extremely fortunate to have two outstanding administrative assistants / secretaries, in Jackie O'Brien and Nancy Macaruso. They certainly made my job a lot easier. We didn't have a town administrator at the time. It was prior to that. So it was terrific working with those two ladies. They were outstanding in what they did. Jackie made our job easy. She did a lot of that administrative stuff for us, and Nancy was just lights out in terms of her profession. So in dealing with this issue, I've been absent from town politics, and no reason for me to be going to the office or any of that stuff. But in dealing with this, I've had, and I mean this sincerely, the pleasure of working with this young lady right here. I want you to know, as a former selectman, as a man, as a person that's been in this town since 1973, as someone who sometimes gets involved in politics here in town over the years, what a gem we have. This lady is terrific. She is extremely professional. She understands, she's really knowledgeable, and she is just pleasant to deal with. And I know that a couple of times I came, and I can get a little rough around the edge. It's the Italian nature of mine. And she dealt with me very, very well. I would have thrown me out, but she she was terrific. So I just want to tell you all that, how fortunate we are as a town of Rutland to have her working for us. Great job.
I think we agree.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you for acknowledging that too, Louis.
Yes.
Thank you.
That's nice.
Excuse me?
I said thank you for acknowledging her and bringing it to our attention also, because we work obviously on a day-to-day basis, but it's also nice to hear from.
Cookies.
Awesome. Thank you.
Well, she wouldn't hurt an elderly person anyway.
So,
He's older than I am.
I made the motion, did we?
we had a second,
In a second, so we just
and we
need to do a
discussed
formal
it.
vote.
Yeah. So, roll call.
What do we make the motion on?
Motion
No, to place it on the.
Oh,
warrant.
to place it on the
No,
warrant.
you seconded it, but we need to do
yeah,
roll call.
Galvin,
Nichols, aye.
Wait a minute.
Benoit, aye. Thank you.
Through the chair though, before Mr. Kanaki starts anything, there's gonna be some major changes down there before you do anything.
Right. That's why I said he needs to.
Yeah, all
You
right.
realize
We'll
that.
we're going to work with you folks.
Well, he
Okay.
can't do it anyway until it passes at town meeting. This was
Right.
just to get it on the
And
warrant.
we
to put it
probably won't be
before
able to do anything till the spring anyway,
Right.
now that the winter's here.
Right.
Okay.
All right. The state election warrant. To. What are we doing with this one?
Just making a motion to sign it.
Making the motion to sign the election warrant for November.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion,
Clock
questions?
Galvin,
Nichols, aye.
Wait a minute. I.
Benoit, aye.
And just, sorry, for clarification, this is for the November 8th state election warrant.
Oh, the state election
Yeah.
warrant.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Special fall town meeting, review the warrant articles and submissions.
Do you wanna take the, are you waiting for the 300 young lady?
Yes.
Can we take
Let's
that
take
out of
that out
order
of
so
order.
that she doesn't have to sit here for
Yeah,
2
you
hours?
shouldn't have to starve like the rest of us.
Is it?
It is my wedding anniversary. I came
Oh,
in here.
no,
I
my
didn't
God, you should have been
know-
first.
I didn't know this was an open thing that people
Oh.
could just come to, so. you know.
Jeez.
Is everybody okay with
Thank
that?
Yeah?
Yeah, I am.
Okay. So, review of expenditures since appropriated funds of November 21.
So,
Yeah.
so through the chair, so I assume, Becky, these all come with invoices? So were invoices received with all these, or somebody has
Yes.
them? Oh,
Yeah, anything that goes through the warrant, that pack, that brown
Yeah.
envelope that you sign,
And they
and
go-
all the warrants, the accountant puts them in and reviews them to make sure there's no tax, no sales tax. There's a valid signature on them from the department, and the line item has the appropriate funds in them. So as she's putting them in.
okay. So it's through the chair, so it's Jean that actually reviews this too, just like, is that, she the one that reviews all the?
Yeah, as she's putting them, it's like
Yeah,
that,
okay.
each warrant that you sign off on, each
Yeah.
meeting is her putting in all those invoices into the system against the various accounts.
Yeah.
And then that warrant that you sign has everything summarized in there.
I've gotta admit that I didn't notice any, I didn't realize that the 300th was coming through, I didn't notice any of those invoices, I guess that was just my oversight. I didn't know that it was coming through with the rest of the warrants.
Yeah, everything that gets paid through the town comes through the warrant process. Every bill and all the cash that comes into the town comes
Yeah.
through my office.
Okay.
So the receipts come through my office, the expenditures go to the town accountant to be put on the warrant, and then the checks get cut, and I issue the checks once you sign off on the warrant.
So, I guess there's a couple of things, there's a few things. One is my recollection from the town meeting where this money was appropriated. Stipulation was that no monies were to be spent unless they were authorized and approved by the town administrator's office. The town administrator is no longer here to say anything about that, so I'm just putting that out there, which then, and I'm not I think this board is all ready to get hit if we need to get hit and on anything that we do. But with our expectation of that was the chain of expenditures, that was how it was supposed to be, and things weren't communicated to us that things were being spent, we kind of took a nothing to see here approach because we weren't being made aware of those things. I don't want to say that as excuse. I'm trying to give background about some of this. When I was asked to attend a 300th committee meeting, and I asked them, when they were talking about they didn't have money to do X, Y, and Z, I said, well, you were appropriated $88,000 plus to help do this. Why are you trying to do everything on a shoestring? You know, and the room was shocked that they were told that they could not spend any of the money. So that now we're talking about sometime in June that I went to a meeting, and I'm thinking, okay, they haven't spent this, so we haven't heard anything. I hear confirmation that they haven't spent anything because they were told they couldn't, and now we're looking at quite a chunk having been expended. So for us, this is, in the past couple of weeks, a bit of a surprise. And like I said, the buck stops here, and we are responsible for what we did and didn't do. We have a meeting tomorrow at 2 o'clock, 1 o'clock, to discuss with Barbara, so she's the vice chair?
Yeah, Barbara and Sherry Haber.
And Sherry Haber. To try to get more of a handle on this, because what we're looking at here are not only expenditures, but there's monies that came in and donations and gifts and things like that. And so we want to have a larger conversation, and I will sit on that. If anybody else, only one other board member, if one other board member is available tomorrow, it just got confirmed today. If somebody else wants to come and sit on that at 1 o'clock tomorrow, please do. So I guess for me, I need to still learn some more. So this was just to get this on the table and bring it up. Ask any questions, if anybody has any questions that if they can't go tomorrow, if you want to contact me with a question, if you want to look at this a little bit more. There's a lot to look at. Unless somebody else wants to make some kind of a decision or a comment or discussion. That's my 2 cents.
My recollection is just a little bit different in the sense that not that every single expense would be approved for the administrator's office, but that we would have, it would be brought more to the board's attention when there was expenditures, we weren't going to manage any of those accounts. The my recollection, but I don't know, was that we definitely wanted to have, as with anything that has that's an appointed committee that has a large budgetary access, that we just wanted to be kept in the loop a little bit. I know that there was a lot of discussion at the town meeting where we appropriated that money, that they'd be kind of very fiscally responsible with it and really only use it for police detail, and I think that they were heeding that seriously. And that I remember there being conversation that, you know, anything that was left would default back to free cash and everything. So I think that they were trying to be fiscally responsible, conservative with that. And I know I had a few of them, a few different people reach out kind of confused, like, we thought at town meeting it was this way, and we kind of very begrudgingly got the money. But then now we're being told that we should just spend it all because it's ours to spend, which it is, but also with the hindsight of that town meeting piece. And so I think they were getting some mixed signals, and everything. So I had a few people reach out. So I had asked for clarification on the accounts and everything. And Becky and Gary were able to provide some insight, and then I would like to spend a little bit more. I won't be able to make the meeting tomorrow, but I would like to spend a little bit more time. And I think I'd asked if we had questions and wanted to see receipts or any invoices or anything, if we had access to that, and I think we can also, so.
Yeah, because I knew that I'd like to look to see, you know, it was, and again, recollection is worth nothing, unless nobody remembers everything the same. But I know that there was a promise of, you know, last resort, they were gonna get grants, they were going to do a lot of fundraising, they were, and that this was a cushion. This was so that it wouldn't, we wouldn't enjoy our 300th birthday for lack of funds. So, and to the begrudging, I think there was some begrudgingly gave or appropriated the money, but not everybody, but I think that certainly it won, but I don't know if it wasn't certainly unanimous. But anyway, Sonia.
So Sandra Thomas, 110 Turkey Hill. I joined this committee in January, and that was what I was told, that we could only spend it on safety and like DPW stuff, and that was it. And that was all that we could spend it on. So the big chunk that came out of that, and then we were without, all through the summer, we were without a treasurer that we couldn't get in touch with. So basically, we were also trying to find out what was going on with the books, and the majority of that has been spent really by the 4th of July, on the 4th of July celebration, honestly. So, but when you guys go through that, look at it, because we were like, all right, you know, like how is the balance down to here when we've not done, we did police detail and porta potties, you know, that was it, really. So, I mean, I don't know, and then whatever the banner debacle, whatever all that stuff was in the spring and whenever that started, but, you know, it was, yeah, it's just been, there were a lot of hands in that pot that
different ones
we're getting
at different
crossed.
times.
Yeah.
Yeah, if I could just do my two
comments
here is, there has been so much turnover on that committee. Like our 4th of July committee.
We're having such a
I
hard
know.
time doing
I'm
one
sorry.
last party. Like
the 4th of July committee, they've been in, how many times have we had, what are they in their, I don't know, 70th year? They do their, so they kind of know how things run. And most other committees know how things go. When the committee started and the funds were appropriated, I had, you know, the chairman come in and say, okay, how do we make deposits? How do we pay bills? And I went through it and assumed that that went back to the committee. Then there was somebody else that I had to teach how to do it. Then there was somebody else that I had to teach how to do it. Then there were, you know, we would give them updates on the funds and explain like this. We actually did a spreadsheet from my office that we sent, like, this is where your balance is, here's the positives, here's the negatives. You just kind of update it as you submit bills to us to pay, so that you have a running balance in your account. And that had sent that a couple times over to the chairman, and it just didn't get anywhere, just because I don't know if it was the turnover or just the difference of opinions on the committee, and it's been frustrating and taxing on the town, just because of educating them and as to how things go. And dealing with a town when you're used to dealing in private industries is different, because we have to be responsible with the taxpayers' money. So we have to answer to a lot of different things. So we have to dot our I's and cross our T's, not the other way around, to get these things across. And it's frustrating, I think, for new people that just jump on a committee and just like, hey, let's do this fun thing. And it's just, you have to submit everything to the town accountant, and we only do bills once every 2 weeks, and so you have to get it in beforehand, and so on and so forth. So it's been very frustrating, the turnover in that committee, and we've tried to have a handle on it, but it's just exhausting.
Yes. And this is, looking at this, it seems like there's a lot of expenditures that have gone to the bands, and I thought all the bands were funded, sponsored by, I know a lot of the bands were sponsored by different businesses or families in town, and I'm not
If you're looking at the detail of Fund 295, that's the gift account.
Yeah,
So there's receipts that go in, that went into the gift account, and then
Okay.
those expenditures came back out.
okay, so it should,
They wash
they
out,
should be
yeah.
balanced, okay.
Yeah, so
That's-
if you're just looking at the expense report, it's only gonna show the outs, it's not gonna show the
Right,
ins.
and it just shows the ins as like a lump sum, I assume it's every 2 weeks or whatever
Yeah.
that you have a.
Monthly,
Okay.
I've posted the receipts into that account, so.
Okay, so, yeah, and I see that there's some larger chunks of
Yeah.
money deposited, so I would
Mhm.
assume some of those probably, if we went back to look at the receipts in, would
Yeah.
match.
Yes.
We could match the band
Yeah.
payment or whatever. Okay.
And the balance, I don't know if you have, I don't know which report you're looking at, but the balance in the gift account is about $9,000, I think, right now. Yeah. At the end of FY '22, it was $9,055. And there's been about $3,000 more in there in FY '23, so.
So hopefully tomorrow, I don't know that we're gonna resolve all of this tomorrow in an hour, but I hope that we start making some conversation in roads to at least trying to understand. The place that I work has an awful lot of regulations and how-tos and everything else, and I've kind of every once in a while gone, why? You know, now I'm like, I absolutely see why it's so difficult to do a lot of things with finances, because it's just, there's too many people doing things and things fall through the cracks, and anyway. So I guess for tonight, that's an FYI, and more later.
And she had to sit through us for all that time for that?
She talked.
If I may, Sandra, do you, everything that's been submitted, to your knowledge, has the committee voted in favor of using the money as an expense? Because I know that there was some concern at different times that funds were being submitted through the offices that maybe the committee had talked about but hadn't formally approved, or a majority hadn't approved, but they still made their way through, so that the full committee wasn't necessarily voting on the funds, and it was like a small.
We've just voted on, like, the family picnic band, we're gonna have this much for that.
Yeah.
You know, we've pretty much voted on everything that we've spent.
Okay.
Since I've been there in January, again, I
Right.
started in January, and I know this committee started well before that, so,
Yeah.
since I've been there.
I think there was some concern kind of over the summer with everybody's crazy schedules and work availability and everything.
Oh,
that-
yeah.
But I don't know for sure.
So through the chair, so are minutes kept to document the votes and stuff like that? Okay, so it should.
And posted.
So, probably wanna look at those two, yes. Okay, thank you, Sorry.
Happy anniversary.
Yeah, thanks.
We've spent birthdays and anniversaries here,
I know,
so
I know.
now you're part of the
Right,
club.
Yeah.
I've had worse.
All right.
Thank you.
Tamika, when do we need to, we're looking at the warrants now.
The intention was just to, not for you to
Go
go,
through.
to article by article, but just to give you guys an idea of what we received, and what we've got on there. And, next Thursday, October 27th, will be a joint meeting with the Finance Committee to make recommendations and place the articles.
Great.
And then you will sign the warrant at your November 1st meeting. So, my intention is to send this to Town Council tomorrow, after you guys just have a quick look over of it.
Karen Narwhal, Chairman of the Finance Committee. It's the first I've heard of it, that we're going to have a joint meeting on the 27th.
It was on the proposed calendar that I sent out to all that I sent out to the department heads and to the committees, that's when the joint meeting was gonna be scheduled for, and.
To be honest with you, some of those things I don't always get to. That's kind of stuff that I'm like, okay, that's just edification, and I don't always pay attention. If it's something, I don't know if my committee can meet next Thursday. I can ask, but I can't guarantee anything. because I didn't know.
My intention was to send out the email tomorrow, which would be 9 days in advance. Like I said, I did have it on my proposed calendar. So my intention was to send that out once you guys had taken an initial look, made sure that, that worked, and that was the intention.
So what if we can't make this meeting, we're in trouble?
The warrant has to be posted by November 3rd.
So it's looking like currently about
There's 27 articles,
20
including a citizen's petition.
27 articles. Has there been any murmurings, Gary, if I may, of free cash certification coming through?
That, Becky, you're on.
We have, Jean was out sick today, so
Yeah.
that's why she wasn't here for her
Yeah.
update. I did talk to her today. She's got everything, again, she's been a town accountant for 20-something years, so she knows what she's doing. She's got everything basically that she can submit. All of our cash is reconciled, receivables are reconciled. The statement of indebtedness is in there. What's last to do is kind of she's actually gonna meet with Dan, our previous town accountant, to go through some of the nuances that Rutland has, some of the things that he knows about that, like, oh, you should move this and that, just things to look at that, because he was here doing the books from July to June 1st or May 31st. So Jean took over for 1 month in the fiscal year that she's trying to close. So she really needs his guidance to do the final close so we don't miss anything. She knows the basics, but she needs him to come in and kind of and here, look at this, look at that type of thing, and tie the last few last ends up, and they're supposed to do that this weekend. So I did talk to both of them, and they are coordinating to have them kind of come in this weekend or Friday to tie those things up. So, and just a reminder, like last year, free cash was certified on November 4th. We had the meeting on November 18th. So.
Is there anything, right now I'm like blazing. Is there anything that you want to draw our attention to? Leah, you had a...
No, the deadline has closed for groups, for anybody
Yes.
to submit, correct?
Yeah, we have a couple of,
Okay, that's what I thought.
we do have a couple of placeholders that
Yeah.
we'll be adding on. I'll go over to Nick in the morning.
I will point out that some of the warrant articles are not requesting money. They're requesting reallocation of funds from warrant articles that were previously approved. So although there are 27 articles, not all of them are seeking funds from free cash.
Do you know off the top of your head what the ballpark is?
About 176,000
That people are
that people are seeking from free cash.
177, you said?
Yep, about that.
That's
Through the chair. Mr. Keller, is it oil heat on the heaters down the garage? Or is it gas, propane?
Those are IRs, those would be propane. Actually, the garage needs extensive work on their heating system, both for the garage and for the building upstairs itself. So we have to do it one phase at a time. We're applying for grants, which we've just applied for one on public safety. That one is going through, that should be fully covered, and the next phase, we couldn't do both buildings at once.
Okay.
So the next phase is for the IR, which we're still applying for actively, which does have to take care of the garage, because there is no heat out of the 4 modines that are down there, just as one works. So we have to do something with the heat in the garage, yes. The IR is infrared, but I don't know if you knew that, but it's infrared.
So is this, through the chair, there's supporting information for a lot of these articles?
Yes, on the Google Drive, I uploaded a
that's on there.
specific folder. Yeah, I just didn't, for
Is that the thing you
paper's
just
sake.
added that you?
Yeah, so,
Okay.
yeah, so all the supporting documentation from department heads and committees is on the Google Drive. I just didn't print them all out for the sake of saving paper, but they did provide invoices, explanations, and they each provided a form on which they give an explanation
Okay.
of what they're asking
Is that
for.
something available to the finance committee?
Yes, yep, I was gonna upload that to their drive as well.
Okay, thank you.
As well as email it to us, please.
Yes.
So
So,
look at those and.
right, you're not doing anything really. Okay.
Yeah, no action was needed. I just didn't want it to, next week to be the
Yeah.
first time that you guys saw
No,
this.
thank you. That's great. And this is available to the finance committee already as well, the draft?
I have to, the draft I have to add onto their drive.
Okay.
Yes, I will make that available to them tomorrow.
Alright. I think no correspondence, other business?
I don't know, Ed, because I know in the past from our retreat thing and our goals and objectives and stuff, how are we going to, I know we said we weren't going to officially put it on every agenda, but how are we going to keep it alive and start discussing that? Because I know one of the things was on staffing, and the last discussion we had was on the town administrator. And we had talked about whether we would use a service. Did we get information on different alternatives and services?
I have it, I can forward it to people either later tonight or tomorrow.
So I'm just wondering how we're gonna move forward with some of those
Right,
initiatives.
maybe bring the list forward so we can look at it, and
Right.
then and then make a decision on talking to two or three of them or whatever, and
So, yeah, we can all get a look at that, and then maybe so we can start discussing it, whatever information we have on that. But that, as well as the other initiatives that we had talked about.
So, let's figure out how to put that on the, like I said, it seemed like it got to the point where these are listing the things we're gonna do, and it's
Right.
like, it comes to the end of the meeting, and we're like, yeah, just skip it this week.
And I can see maybe we don't want to put it on every single meeting, but maybe the first couple, until we start figuring out how we're gonna take action on it, we should at least have it on the agenda so that we look at it, so it wasn't just,
Okay.
Do that.
if that works for the committee.
Goal, we could just do goals and agenda update, because it's tight.
Sure.
we're working on the dedication of intersections right at the moment.
Yes, we are.
And
We're
yeah.
working on a lot
We're
of
looking
things.
at-
Right.
So,
But
I mean,
it's just
it's not that
good
we're
to-
not doing anything.
No, I know,
We're
but
doing
it's good to
something.
make sure that it's all in, we're
It's
in
also,
focus.
it helps everybody else too, to know that we're working on what we said we were gonna work on. So, just,
I
we
make
are
a
not.
motion to adjourn. No.
We're not meeting on Monday, October 1st, just so y'all remember, it's a Tuesday instead. We
It's not my
will-
costume and
So
We are
may
not-
I ask this question? Where's it gonna be held?
Well, we apparently can't have this,
Calkins room is reserved.
we can't have this room.
So then I will not be at that meeting.
Okay. I know, you have a conflict.
Mm-hmm.
Darn it.
What, their meeting's more important than our meeting?
That's what I was gonna say, yeah, right.
Well, I should say, it depends on what's on the agenda.
Right, because we have a lot coming with a special town meeting coming.
They have your room, so it must be more important.
Well,
I'm sorry, so from 31st to the 1st, that's all.
31st and
yeah.
1st, yeah. All right, so now,
it's in-
I just wanted to bring that to this, remind
Okay.
everybody.
So I make a motion to adjourn.
Second. Black eye.
Galvin, aye.
Nick, aye.
I'm gonna
Yeah, but I.
Where did all this trash come